I got this underbody brace set for my Altezza drift build. Apparently it will stiffen up the chassis and make the car more responsive. I don't know if I believe that, and I don't think there's ever going to be a way I can test it. Will it make the car better for drifting, or just add street cred? Who knows? But here we are. It's not in the nicest shape, so I'm cleaning it up and hitting it with some paint. I start out with one of the scouring pads that Patrick sent me. You can see all the dust coming off and why I'm wearing a mask. Next up, I'm using a wire brush to get rid of some flaky bits in hard to reach places. I wasn't really feeling that, so I moved on to a wire wheel on a drill. Wasn't really feeling that either, so moved on to a wire wheel on an angle grinder. This is really dangerous and I don't recommend it, but it does get the job done quick. Next, give it a wipe down with some wax and grease remover. I use this stuff called Silicon Off. And it's primer time. I'm using grey epoxy primer here, and I'm putting on 2 fairly heavy coats. 3, 4, 5 bolts, we're out. What the hell's that? Head of a screw that's been drilled out. I don't remember doing that. At some point, that's been bashed by the ground. There we go. Wow, she's bent. Look at the bend in it. Very, very tight. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Snapped off, mate. Look at that. Just simply fit it. I didn't put that much force on it. It just snapped in half, so I'm not taking the blame for that. That's Murphy's Law. Just simply undo the bolt. Yeah, well, the bolt's going to snap in half, isn't it? One more piece of plastic off. That will give me access to there. If I have to, I'll drill that out and do something with it, I suppose. I don't know why I've got a mask on now, but I didn't have one on while I was painting. Just wedge my hand in between the wheel and this plastic thing so that I can get to this stupid bolt. This dumb location that Toyota decided that I just simply have to have. Like, if this piece of plastic wasn't here, shit, I mean, what would this car be like without this piece of plastic that's completely full of gravel? Like, go away. This one's bent to shit, the other one's bent to shit. Bottom of the fuel tank just bending in. Let's try and strip these ones out too. Uh-huh. Yeah, that one's too round to go on. Yeah, this one. Yeah, that one's too round to go on as well. I think they've just hit the ground so many times that they're not 12s anymore. They're kind of 13-ish. One thing that does kind of worry me though is that the Tom's one's actually going to sit lower than the stock one. So I'm going to hit it more often. Hey, all right. I'm gonna have to find some other 12mm bolts because I think these ones are pretty well. Bye. And that's gone. Hey, all right. It's the final. I was gonna say it's the final bolt, but oh, I doubt that. I wouldn't lie to you, and it's very unlikely that this is the final bolt that I'm going to come across in this car. Yay, gotcha. Gotcha, bitch. All right, here we go. Done. We are removed and ready for stupid shit from Tom's. No stretch of the truth. Look. I have to get this shit done because more stuff planned for tomorrow. If I can't get this done in time, well then that f***s up tomorrow, doesn't it? So if I can't get good enough footage of me removing 2 bolts, then so be it. Because it's for the greater good. Because, I mean, let's face it, you want me to just finish a car and drive it. Well, I mean, I'm trying. I just need to finish a car and drive it because watching someone drive a car is so much more interesting than watching someone work on a car. Like, once I finish these cars, what are my videos going to be? I don't even know. Why am I chin masking? I don't know that either. I was going to paint this thing green like that, but it wouldn't come out that green, and at 15 bucks a can versus $2 a can, I'm going yellow. See that in Japanese? That says TRD yellow. Now we're going to deal with that snapped bolt. Lucky for me, it's in a bracket that can be removed. It's just 3 bolts, but I had to jack the car up in a different spot, which was annoying. Look at the size of this massive bolt. I started the removal process by drilling a 3mm hole right through the snapped bolt. Then I went to go and get an easy out and realized I don't have any, so I was faced with a choice. Go and buy something or make something. So I tapped halfway through the hole with M4. Put a stainless M4 bolt in there so that it bottomed out, then heated it up with an LPG torch. The theory was that if the M4 bolt bottoms out in the hole, that could lock in there and allow me to rotate the snapped bolt. The thread on the backside wasn't in good shape, but the thread that's covered would be fine. So rather than trying to pull the bolt out, I was going to push it all the way through. I just need to get the thing to rotate, and the heat will make the metal expand to help the bolt spin. And as you can see, it worked. The snapped bolt moves. So I rocked that back and forth until the M4 bolt snapped. But the hard part was done. A pair of vice grips on there and away we go. Now you might be wondering why I didn't just use vice grips from the beginning. I didn't want to potentially damage the backside of the thread in case I was forced to extract the bolt rather than driving it all the way through. Run my tap through the thread just to clean it up a little bit and then test it with a bolt. That'll do, happy with that. Next. This is quite rusty. You see, all I wanted to do was fit that Tom's underbrace, but then it's like, well, I may as well paint it while it's out, but then it's like, well, I may as well sandblast it, but then it's like, well, I may as well... Then I opened up the sandblasting cabinet and found that I forgot a piece. So I started sandblasting it and I thought, well, why don't I show you what it used to look like? It looks like it's been on the bottom of the ocean for a while, and then after you sandblast it, it looks like that. And then I discovered that the hose is all rotten and leaking, so I have to swap that out now. All I want to do was bolt 3 pieces of Tom's underbracing onto the car. No, you can't have that. There's a whole series of steps that you need to go through to be able to do that. Jesus. These were in here. I was going to sandblast these too. I don't even know where they came from. Close that up. Give her a good old lock. Bang. Lights on. Gonna need some hearing protection. And we'll start this up. Even those turned out all right. Now throw them on the ground. Turned out pretty good. Give it a wipe down with some silicone off. Same goes for this thing. Quick wipe down with some silicone off. Looks new, mate. Look at that. This has been here overnight, so that's done. Looks pretty good, huh? Now let's scratch the crap out of it, getting it back in the car. It's very important that when you replace a bolt that you follow the same tensile strength. How strong is this bolt? Well, it's normally written on the top with a number, or in this case it's got lines pointing towards the center. That tells me that this is, I believe, a 6 on the tensile strength scale. This bolt has the same markings on it as this one, so I know this one has the same tensile strength as this one. This bolt is 127 newton meters. There it is. These ones only need to be 19, just for those playing at home. 19. All of the bracing ones are 19 as well. Now I go to install this thing and it doesn't fit. I don't know if the brace is out of whack or the car's out of whack. So the only way to get this thing to fit is to slot the holes a little bit more than they already are. That should allow that to fit. I'll do the same on the other side. One thing that does puzzle me is if these holes aren't perfectly the same size as the bolts, how does this really provide any structural integrity to the car anyway? You know what I mean? Like, if it can move on the bolt, then the car can still flex. It might not be able to flex as much, but it still will flex. That's a lot of flex when you've got a bolt that's... Let's have a look. This is the bolt that goes in here. Look at this. That's how much flex you could get, potentially, having this under the car. I'm not convinced that this will make any difference at all, and it's a lot heavier than the OEM stuff. Here's the OEM one. Now it's made out of junk and it's bent. I mean, that actually might be an indication as to which is bent, the car or this. This would suggest the car, but anyway, I digress. Same deal here. How much stiffening could this actually do when there's that much movement in it? I don't know. Definitely something to think about. Finally fitted. All right, they're all done. Now these probably won't fit either. 50 there. So the next piece in this kit is this, and I've just noticed that it goes in here behind the exhaust. These are a 19 and they're done up quite tight, but not impossible to get by hand. Do the old spanner on spanner trick. Ugh. I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that this is on an angle. That means to install it, you have to back one of the bolts out, position it, and then push the bolt back in again. There it is, 110. 50? I was really surprised by how bad the OEM bracing was and how smashed up the mounting brackets were. Judging by just that, it's probably a good thing they were replaced, in this case by something a lot more beefy, but at the bare minimum, new OEM ones would have been better than what I had. I was really impressed with how I got that snapped bolt out. I find it hard to believe that these will do absolutely nothing, but enough to notice? Honestly, it's been so long since I've driven this car that I'm not sure I'll be able to tell. I am very happy with how they turned out though. One problem I did find is that the exhaust hits it. I don't know if that's because the transmission mount has sagged, very possible seeing the car has done nearly 200,000 kilometers, or maybe the exhaust hanger rubbers have stretched, or maybe you're supposed to use a straight pipe with this thing. Anyway, that's a problem for another day.